Hello and welcome to
Okay, so that is looking at this. Yeah, I can do the cameras on from here. I can still that separate. Okay, so that is the front over here.
Yeah.
Okay. How long's the rest?
There's different like trackside cameras. If you press page down, flick between
Yeah.
sets.
That's fine. I'll do that.
Yeah, 20 that very Needs me ready. Just to kill me. While they. You going from back? So Brian,
Yes.
these guys are paying £20 each.
Yeah.
When they get to it, but this got 42 brushes. This should finish 10 minutes. Cool. Guys, can you open back?
I think so. Merry Christmas part gave that away.
Everyone loves welcome.
You're literally dying. I've been dying. Well, that wasn't a lot for me to do. Too Oh, the fancy's flowing tonight.
You're way too young to know what's so far, aren't you? You're too young for that t-shirt. You're not 15.
Commentating.
Why don't I commentate from this?
Yeah, nah. Don't sneeze on it.
I don't know. I just don't know who the cards don't commentate from here.
Simply racing me.
They're going to come up over.
Anyway, right, go. You can change it. You can change it live halfway through the race.
Are you doing the name? I've shown Brad somewhat how to do it.
Yeah. Just find out who's in what pod, Brad. If any of the pods stop working for any reason, like they blow their engine up or whatever, you can just hit them, relaunch it, like leave it 24 hours, it should go back in. Yeah, how you launch it. They should just go straight back into the pit lane. Sorry guys, just 2 seconds. Stream, She hates me already. The stream is online.
Okay, hello and welcome to the Bathurst 20 laps Simply Race. We've got Callum Cripps on the pole, Anthony Jordan a close second, which is unheard of, and Luke Austin of the NKL team in third. Let's see how this is going to shape up. So, poor start there for Anthony Jordan, so Luke Austin's moved through into second place. Looks like Callum Cripps has got away in the Grey Viper at the front. And poor Anthony Jordan is falling down the field. It gets a little bit of a tap there from the yellow BMW. So right now it's looking like Callum Cripps, Luke Austin, Mark Winwood, and then Chris Hardwick in that yellow BMW. Anthony Jordan falling down the field. This is a bit more like we'd usually expect to see him. So can Luke Austin keep Callum Cripps honest now, or is he going to disappear into the distance? As we come up the mountain here on this treacherous track, it looks like Luke Austin is right up behind Callum Cripps now. The BMW Z4 potentially the easier of the two cars here to control. In fact, we've got 3 BMW Z4s in the top 4. So it's really close for the lead now. Although it's a very narrow track, so Cripps probably won't have a lot of defending to have to do here. Luke Austin is the one who's going to have to make the move here. Fantastic close racing halfway through the first lap at Bathurst. Oh, we've had an accident in the background there. That looks like Chris Hardwick in the barriers. He's falling down, was it? I think that is Chris Hardwick falling down the order. Luke Austin with a great slipstream now. Is he going to make the move at the bottom of the straight? Anthony Jordan pulling out at the back there. So no, it's status quo at the front. Top 2 cars in the same position. Anthony Jordan also didn't manage to make that move stick. So it looks like it wasn't actually Chris Hardwick who was falling down the field earlier. It was another one of the BMWs. So the top 4 bunched together as they cross the line to start lap 2 of this 20-lap race here at Bathurst. In fact, the whole field is bunched together. The long straights here at Bathurst providing quite a nice slipstream effect. A blue car off in the background there. That's going to allow Anthony Jordan to have a bit of a run here. Oh, and we've got a Viper off in the background. That looks like it's going to be Colin Talbot. And Anthony Jordan in the Corvette has made the move there on Chris Hardwick. So Chris Hardwick falling out of the podium positions. We've got a yellow flag in the first sector. Yellow flag's now clear. Someone's had a bit of an excursion. Oh, and Callum Cripps into the barriers. Had a little bit of a moment there, but Luke Austin hasn't been able to capitalise on that. Still pretty close behind. So can Anthony Jordan work his way back up? He started second on the grid. He fell down to about 5th. He's now back up to 3rd. It's an exciting race so far at the front. Looks like Callum Cripps has got himself a bit of breathing space now. Luke Austin on the grass. Oh, we've got Chris Hardwick in the barriers. Is he going to hang on? Looks like he has just about held on. Sliding around. He's on the grass. No, he's in the gravel. He's hemorrhaging positions, and Chris Hardwick falls down the field. So he's now going to have to recover. So that really allows the guys at the front a bit of breathing room. So the top 3 have now broken away from the rest of the pack. Oh, and Anthony Jordan making a move down the hill. And now he's got his sights firmly set on Callum Cripps. Callum Cripps, the more experienced of the racers here at the front. So Anthony Jordan in that Corvette has a very good amount of straight line speed and now a slipstream. What can he do about Callum Cripps? So as they head into the flat-out right-hander before they brake very, very hard for this 90-degree left. Still the top 3 very close together. And Anthony Jordan is the man on the move. After making that terrible start, he is now absolutely keeping Callum Cripps honest. We move on to the 3rd lap of this 20-lap race. 2 laps complete. So this is what the view's like from Anthony Jordan. Turned in a little early for that one. Maybe got a little bit optimistic. Let's see how much time he gains down the straight here. Doesn't look like he's getting a lot of slipstream at the moment. But he's certainly not lost any time there. Top 3 keeping their heads at the moment. So we'll have a quick look back down the field, see what's going on with some of the other drivers in just a moment. Oh, Callum Cripps once again a little bit wide. Anthony Jordan taking... Oh, and we've got Luke Austin in the barriers. Although in a part of the track that hasn't really affected him. We've got no damage turned on in this race, so the guys can afford to have a bit of a rub down the barrier. So let's look back down the field. We've got a close fight here. Pod number 6. And the recovering Mark Winward. And then Chris Hardwick, who was running a strong podium position earlier on, who had that trip through the gravel. Let's have a look a little bit further down as well. Oh, we've got someone else off in the gravel. Pod number 10. Who's that? That's Darren Kirk. Oh, and taking a trip straight across the chicane there, cutting that. That's number 8 there. Number 8, Matt Goodger-Scott, now having a look at Darren Kirk. Darren under pressure. Is it going to get done here? Maybe at the end of this next long straight. We'll have a look back at the leaders. Anthony Jordan not quite close enough to make a move this time. However, we do have Matt Goodger-Scott making a move on Darren Kirk down the back straight. Simple move, easily completed. We'll have a look a little bit further back, and the back of the field it's spread out, so nothing to see there at the moment. Matt Goodger-Scott makes his escape. So back to the battle for the lead. It's not a whole lot of battling going on. Anthony Jordan is just keeping in touch here with Callum Cripps. Surprising pace from Anthony Jordan. Callum Cripps was winner of the Simply Race 24 Hours. He's driven this Viper as well in the previous Simply Race 24 Hours, so he knows all about this car. So, back to the battle at the front. Let's have a look from the rearward view of the race leader, Callum Cripps. See if we can get that view up now. There we go. So, this is how close Anthony Jordan is. Oh, and is he going for a move? Nearly, very nearly making a move on Callum Cripps there. And we've got Luke Austin in the barriers at the back, so he's falling away even more. So now, here we go. This is the fight. Callum Cripps is looking to make a move on the race leader. Sorry, Anthony Jordan even looking to make a move on Callum Cripps. And Callum is not going to make this easy for him. The track's pretty narrow at this point as well. Is Anthony brave enough? Is he going to go for a lunge? Not this time around. He thinks better of it. But extremely close to the race leader. Bit of pressure now for Anthony Jordan, who's not used to performing right at the front like this. This is a great fight at the moment. So we're going to stick with this battle for the lead. Once again, it's pretty close. That Viper sounds fantastic. Oh, Jordan nearly hitting the back there of Callum Cripps. So he's lost a bit of time trying to avoid him. That's helped Callum out a little bit, giving him a little bit more breathing space. Let's have a look back down the field here. So some pretty close battles down through the field. No moves being made just yet. At the very back here we've got Colin Talbot just chasing down Paul Day. Let's head back to the front. Oh, what's going on here? So we've got a bit of lag, no problem there. So Callum Cripps once again has a little bit of room, but I have to say, it does look like Anthony Jordan is the quicker of these two drivers. He just needs to close back in on him again and go for another move. He was very nearly into the lead. So here we go. Here's a nice fight shaping up. So we're riding on board with Steve Boyce, just chasing down Shamak Glodek. Here he goes through the chicane at the top of the hill. Nothing happening. Oh, looks like Shamak's made a bit of a mistake there. Oh, we've got a move coming through. Is that Chris Hardwick? So pod number 12. It is Chris Hardwick making the move on Steve Boyce. Great little slipstream battle going on here. Let's head back to the front and see. Oh, and we've got Number 9, Shamak, going off the track there, losing a few positions. Dropping down to 8th position now, Shamak. Oh, it's really tough fighting at the back there. Let's have a look back up at the race leads, see if anything's going on there. Oh, so it looks like Callum has maybe made a mistake because Luke Austin has closed back in on him. So unseen by us, Callum Cripps has gained a bit of time on Anthony Jordan. Anthony falling back a little bit. So something has happened at the front there that we haven't seen. Oh, so Callum Cripps has had a crash. Oh, and there's another crash in the background, guys. All going off as we had a little break there. So now it's Anthony Jordan from Luke Austin for the lead. What happened to Callum Cripps there? Let's see if we can see a replay. Let's see what actually happened there to Callum. So he was in the lead going down the long straight here as he comes up the hill. Everything's fine. All looking good so far. So where did it all go wrong for Callum Cripps? Oh, so he's hit the barrier. Ah, he spun coming through that chicane, and then Anthony Jordan's collected him. Luckily, no damage. So that's what happened there. So let's get back to the current action. So we've got a car in the pits. So Callum now chasing back down the leaders. Now we've got a bit more of an exciting race in our hands. So Callum Cripps right on the back now of Luke Austin, who in turn is right on the tail of Anthony Jordan. Nothing happening at the moment though, nothing happening on this particular lap. We're going to keep an eye on this race at the front. Anthony Jordan into the pits. So the lead goes over to Luke Austin. So Callum Cripps, Luke Austin out front. It's just be interesting to see how these pit stops shake out. A few other cars in the pits too. So Callum Cripps takes the lead back from Luke Austin. After that mistake earlier on. Callum looking particularly strong now. So, will either of the top two make their pit stop on this lap? And if they do, will Anthony Jordan cycle back out in front? That's going to be the interesting thing here. So let's just keep an eye on these top two, see if they do come on into the pits, the Viper and the Z4 at the front. And yes, it looks like, yep, both of the leaders peeling into the pit. So let's have a look and see where Anthony Jordan is. He's coming down the long straight, so he's not actually that far behind. So I've got a feeling Jordan's going to end up back in front after this. All depends how long these pit stops take for these top two drivers. Let's have another little update with Anthony. He's also got Darren Kirk into the pits. And Anthony is coming down to the final few corners here. And it's certainly be very close if he's not in front. The other car's still stationary. Are we going to see Anthony appear in the background? Let's have a look. Any moment now. We'd expect to see him come around the final corner. Here he comes. So Jordan is going to convincingly go back into the lead here. Callum Cripps is away. So maybe it won't be actually that convincing. Let's have a look. Let's see what the gap is as they come out of the pits. So actually Callum Cripps does retain the lead. That slightly shorter line round the first corner when you exit the pits has helped him out. So actually, looks like Anthony Jordan's lost a couple of seconds there. Callum obviously doing a great in-lap. It's not a huge gap, and we've seen Anthony close on in before. However, it looks like Luke Austin has lost a lot of time there, falling all the way down to 10th place. So maybe an error there with the amount of fuel he chose to put in. I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. He rejoins all the way down there in 11th actually eventually. So with 8 laps complete, it's Callum Cripps from Anthony Jordan and then Mark Winwood, who's making a nice recovery drive after having a bit of an off earlier on. So the excitement in this race is going to come from whether or not Anthony Jordan can close back in on Callum Cripps up at the front. So pretty well spread out through the field until we get down to Paul Day and Luke Austin. Luke will be looking to dispatch Paul Day pretty quickly. We've got a yellow flag in the middle sector. That's, oh no! Who have we got? Number 10. That's Darren Kirk in the barrier. So a little bit of a rescue effort there on Darren Kirk, but we've managed to get him going again. So let's see what's been happening in the race since then. So still got Callum Cripps out front. Anthony Jordan not far behind though. The gap's pretty close. There's about 2 seconds the gap at the moment, with another 1.5 back to Mark Winwood. Winwood catching Jordan at the moment. In the Harambe livery car. So I have to say, it's a very impressive performance for Anthony Jordan, who is ordinarily a perpetual backmarker, and as I say that, he makes a bit of a mistake. Oh, Jordan's rear tyres look to be overheating. He's all over the place down that section. Just managed to keep it going. Just keep riding on board here with Winwood. This is where the action is at the moment. We even had Chris Hardwick, who fell down the order earlier on. He's coming back into this now as well. So Darren Kirk making his way past Colin Talbot, recovering from that being stuck in the barrier moment. He's got a lot of work to do now, though. Oh, who's this? Sliding backwards down the barriers. We've got Shamak, who's facing the wrong way. Yellow flags there. So Anthony under some pressure now from Mark Winwood. Mark's probably a little bit more experienced in the race events here at Simply Race. Anthony normally having to work behind the counter here. Still not a huge gap to the lead. It's about 2.5 seconds, just over. Top 5 actually now all separated by a few seconds. They're all on the same straight, and it looks like we're coming up to some traffic at the front. So what does Callum Cripps have to contend with here? Let's have a look. If we can find him. Where are we? Callum Cripps at the front here. Oh, and Callum made a bit of a mistake there. Has that allowed the guys behind to close? Maybe slightly. A really fast, twisty track this, so it's very easy to make a little mistake, as we've seen plenty of times. We're now halfway through this race. Looks like Anthony Jordan's managed to buy himself a bit of breathing room there to Mark Winwood. Oh, bouncing off the walls there, Steve Boyce. Oh, who's that? Oh, we've got car number 2, Josh Bamwell, is it there? Also bouncing off the barrier. Fortunate for some of these drivers that we aren't running damage in this race, otherwise we've had quite lengthy repairs in the bits. So there we go, that is the gap between the top 4 you can see coming down the long back straight. Callum Cripps looks to have it under control at the moment. Dust being kicked up in the background there by Anthony Jordan. And the gap has actually come down, so Anthony Jordan's closed a second on that lap. Oh, and now he spun. I spoke too soon. Anthony Jordan throwing away that shot at the lead by the looks of it. That's a shame. That was shaping up to be a little bit of a fight there for us. So now it's Mark Winwood who is our only hope to make this more exciting. And Anthony in the background there cursing his bad luck or lack of skill. One of the two. But it gave us a good race for a little while. Where does he end up back there? He's fallen down into 5th position, so a costly error there from Jordan. So we've got Shamak here looking to make a move on Dan Ryan. Not going for it just yet. And then we've got Josh Bamwell and Luke Austin a little bit further up the field. Wow, this is a really, really nice close fight. He makes the move. Bamwell with the headlights blazing. And he moves up and takes that position by the looks of it. Yep. Bamwell. Oh, Bamwell make. Oh, massive crash. So he made the pass and he put himself straight in the barriers with a bit of an overcorrection there. Oh, and he's caused an accident. What's gone on here? So we've got Paul Day in the mix. We've got Josh Bamwell. The track is completely blocked and they're finally away. And that's given a couple of places to the guys behind there. So Shamak right up behind. Dan Ryan got past Josh Bamwell there. Wow, that was. I'm glad we were watching that bit of action. That was quite exciting. So let's have a look back up at the front. Anthony Jordan down in 5th, having lost all that time to the leading pack. Chris Hardwick back in podium contention. You know, Mark Winwood not far off the lead there. So Winwood's been slashing Callum Cripps' lead. It's down to 2.3 seconds now. So maybe Cripps, now we're 12 laps into the race, Cripps just keeping it safe. Winwood lost a couple of tenths there in the last sector, but not a huge amount. And Hardwick as well, also staying just about in the mix. So all it's going to take is for Cripps to make a bit of a mistake, and we've got a race back on our hands here. We'll keep an eye on that gap as we have a look back down the field. So here we go. This looks like a half-decent fight. We've got Josh Banwell slipstreaming up behind Dan Ryan. Is he going to make this pass? It's going to be a risky one. Not quite this time. Dan Ryan cuts across, takes the line and continues. Ooh, Banwell runs a bit deep. He's had a few mistakes here, losing the rear end. Pushing maybe a little bit too hard. Quite closely bunched here with Shamak Glodek up behind them. Okay, so we're back here. Let's have a look. So we've got Mark Winwood in the lead. So something has happened since I've been away. I completely missed whatever happened there. Where is Callum Cripps? So Callum Cripps now with a bit of a gap. He's 5 seconds behind. So we missed some real action there at the front. Wonder whether we can get a bit of a replay on exactly what happened. So I'm just going to skip back a little bit and see if we can find out why Callum fell down the order there. Might take a little while to get there. Okay, so Callum came down the hill. No, maybe that was after the accident. Okay, here we go. Looks like we found it. So Callum down through the corkscrew. He's in the lead at this point. Well, it's very, very odd. We've got a bit of lag at the exact point that we lost Callum. It looks like he's had an accident somewhere anyway, and then had to rejoin. So apologies, we missed that one, guys. We had some real-life customers come in that needed seeing to. So now then, we do have a bit of a story. Can Callum, with nothing to lose, make his way back up to the lead? He's not far behind. He's flashing the headlights. Just as we get back up to real time, just fast forward back to the present day. Okay, so we're back up to speed now. So the gap's 6.6 seconds. Oh, 5.6 now. Callum slashed some of that time off. And it's 2.3 between Mark Winwood and Chris Hardwick for the lead. So all of these drivers having had some adventures during this race. Callum has got some work to do. We thought it was all sewn up. So maybe Hardwick can put the pressure on Winwood. 6 more laps remaining here. 6 long laps, over 2 minutes per lap. So about 12 minutes left to go. Callum not really making much of an impression on this particular lap. The gap to the lead has come down slightly, about half a second closer now. So we can see this is the gap to the lead, bouncing off the walls there, Chris Hardwick. Oh, Callum Cripps, another accident. So Callum's problems in this race really have been all of his own making, just unforced error after unforced error. We thought he had this one sewn up. So that gives Steve Boyce a podium position. So having looked so strong out front, Callum Cripps now doesn't look like he's even going to make the podium as we're about to move on to 5 laps to go. That does give a sniff of a position there to Anthony Jordan. Bit of a consolation prize there if he can get back past Cripps. So the fight at the front then is what's going the real point of interest here. 10 seconds is the gap between third place and first, but just 1.8 seconds separates first and second. That's Mark Winwood in the lead with Chris Hardwick up behind. That's the gap we're looking at. 5 laps remaining. Can Chris Hardwick give us some fireworks? Yellow flag in the first sector. It's disappeared, so someone's had another trip across the grass. So pod 2 in the background there unfortunately isn't third place. That's a lapped Josh Banwell, so he's seen some action. Darren Kirk's moved ahead of him. And the gap now at the front down to 1.3 seconds, so Hardwick is pushing hard. You can see visibly closer together now, the top 2. If he gets a little bit closer, he'll start picking up a slipstream. Let's see whether Anthony Jordan is up behind Callum Cripps. He's not far away either. But this is our fight for the lead. It's been an entertaining race here. Lots of small errors costing drivers a lot of time, struggling to turn around with the barriers with some dust kicked up at the front. It's really close now, down to 1.2. If Chris can get under a second behind Mark, he's going to pick up a fantastic slipstream down the back straight. So not really close enough here. Still 4 long laps to go, about 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes or so until the end of the race. Let's see what the gap is at the next split. Both cars at the front, these BMW Z4s, so evenly matched cars. It's all down to the drivers from here. So as they cross the start line, let's have a look and see what the gap is. It was 1.2 before. So they cross the line this time. It's under a second, 0.9 seconds between the top 2. And Chris Hardwick is giving us a proper race to watch here. So plenty of time for these guys to close right up to each other and have a scrap. And you never know, if they come a cropper, it could give Steve Boyce, who's another 10 seconds down the road, in that blue Supermotive car at the back there, it could give him an opportunity. So 9/10 of a second the gap at the front. Chris Hardwick chasing down Mark Winwood. Best lap, incidentally, is almost identical between these two guys. 2 minutes 8.3. Both drivers have set, with Hardwick fractionally quicker, 300ths quicker on his best lap than Winwood. That suggests that it's going to be pretty close. The last lap, it was about a second in favour of Hardwick, so maybe Winwood just tightening up a little bit. Although, having said that, the gap now through the twisty section, back up to 1.3. So Hardwick has lost 4/10 this part of the lap, but he seems to be particularly strong in the final sector. So a little bit of daylight between the two drivers now. They're not really close enough to get a great slipstream. Let's see the view from on board with Chris Hardwick. He's got 3 more laps at the end of this one to try and get something done here. The gap has opened up slightly on this lap. But these guys are a lot faster than the two cars behind them. Incidentally, Anthony Jordan, Matt Goodger-Scott and Luke Austin further down the field, having had incidents earlier on, are all lapping a lot faster than these guys. But it's no use when they've lost all that track position. So still a close fight for the lead with 3 laps to go as they cross the line this time. Let's see what the gap is. It was 9/10 of a second last time around. It looks pretty close to me. I reckon it's going to be around about the same. It's 7/10 of a second now. So once again, Hardwick closing up in the last sector. And it really is about these two guys now. Everybody else is far too spread out. I mean, Callum Cripps and Anthony Jordan are quite close together. Let's have a quick look at that. So Jordan trying to make a move there on Cripps. That could have been for the lead earlier on in the race, but unfortunately now both these guys well down the order. We want to watch this, but we also really want to focus on the very, very close fight at the front. But Anthony Jordan flashing the headlights there, clearly not happy with Callum Cripps' driving. Let's head back up to the front and see how close this is. Still about 7/10 of a second. This is getting very spicy now. Not really much of an opportunity through this. We'll wait until we get on the long back straight. But oh, and Hardwick in the barrier. That's going to affect him a little bit. He's managed to just about hang on. The fight here between Cripps and Jordan, really for some scraps. Versus Hardwick for the win. Yellow flag in the middle sector. We've had some kind of issue from someone. Can't see what that is. No. Oh, okay. Maybe it's Pod 2. They're well again in the barriers. Oh, and we've got the leader on the grass slightly. The gap is 7/10. We're going to have 2 laps to go at the end of this particular lap. Looks like the gap's opened up slightly, but there will be a lot of slipstreaming going on down the back straight here, and it looks like Hardwick is always faster in this final sector. Extra pit stop. Has he made a bit of a miscalculation there and not put enough fuel in at the first pit stop? So, well, there goes our close fight for the win, unless it turns out Hardwick also has to pit, but Mark Winwood into the pits, and he's going to lose quite a few positions there. Callum Cripps has managed to pull away slightly there from Anthony Jordan. So, interesting. We weren't expecting any more pit stops, but Mark Winwood is going to drop down out of podium contention, having been solidly in the lead. So a bit disappointing in terms of our race viewing. We thought we were going to have a bit of a close fight. So what's the closest battle on track now then? Let's have a look. So Winwood exits the pits just behind Anthony Jordan in the Corvette. So now these three are going to have a nice tight fight, I imagine, in the next closing 2 laps. But right up at the front, Chris Hardwick looks like he's got this all sewn up now. Unless he has to pit on the final lap, or going on to the final lap. So where is our race leader? Let's have a look. Pod number 12, there he is. Chris Hardwick serenely out front, and actually one of the fastest men on track as well. So it's only Callum Cripps really and Anthony Jordan who are going faster than him at the moment, and they're well out of contention unless something major happens. I don't know whether you remember, we saw some of the guys having particularly long pit stops earlier on. Maybe that was putting in that extra fuel that's going to mean they don't have to pit again. Maybe Boyce and Hardwick will. We'll find out, because there's only one more lap to go at the end of this. We'll keep an eye on pod number 12, because this will be crucial. Let's have a look. Where's he gone? So, will Chris Hardwick pit at the end of this lap? Or is he going to keep going? If he keeps going, he should have the win all sewn up as he moves on to the final lap. But if he pits, he's going to drop down to 3rd or 4th position. So, as he comes past the pits, he is not pitting again. Chris Hardwick's staying out, so unless something major happens on this last lap, it looks like he's going to take this win. We've seen about 5 or 6 different leaders in this race. It looked like several drivers had it sewn up at one point, and they've all had various accidents or long pit stops. one thing or another. Anthony Jordan in the qualifying session even blew an engine somehow, which is unbelievable considering failures are turned off. So some particularly poor driving has to happen to blow an engine with failures turned off. So Hardwick on the final lap. Steve Boyce in the distance here. You can see the gap. In fact, you can't even see the car in front. Hardwick so far in front. Callum Cripps and Anthony Jordan. So this is really the main fight on track. This is for the podium, the last spot on the podium. Callum Cripps, who had a convincing lead earlier on in the Grey Viper, with Anthony Jordan, who's also in contention earlier on in the race for the win. Slipstreaming up the first long straight. Probably not a place to make a move this time. If it's going to happen, unless there's a major mistake in the middle sector, it's going to be down the long back straight. Jordan running a little bit wide here. Let's ride on board with him. So this is what Anthony Jordan can see. We'll keep an eye on the gap to the lead, but still Chris Hardwick is about 10 seconds in front of Steve Boyce, so that looks like it's all sewn up. We are on the final lap of this 20-lap race here at Bathurst. 14 of our regular racers here that all take part in the 24 hours, the Simply Race Touring Car Championship. Oh, and Anthony Jordan in the barriers. He's given Callum Cripps a bit of breathing room there as they come through the corkscrew at the top of the hill here. Tight chicane. Our only real chance of some excitement now is going to be down the long back straight. We're nearly there now. Oh, and Anthony Jordan. Oh, he's hit the back of Callum Cripps. It's controversial. Is he going to let him back through? Oh, no, and Callum Cripps falling down the order. Well, we were watching the right battle there, weren't we? Anthony Jordan blatantly taking out his rival for the podium. Looks like there may be some post-race penalty there, and it might give the podium back to Mark Winwood. We'll have to watch a replay of that at the end, but yeah, Anthony Jordan, oh no, very naughty there from the Simply Race staff member. You'd think he'd be taking care of his customers better than that. So it's going to be Chris Hardwick who's taken the win, Steve Boyce crossing the line, the Aston Martin in second position, and a controversial, dirty move there on the last lap by Anthony Jordan. I mean, what can we say? We're going to have to call him up to the steward's office. He takes third on the road, but I think he's unlikely to keep that in post-race scrutineering. So probably Mark Winwood here in the Harambe racing car who's going to take third, but exciting race there. We never knew what was going to happen, but Chris Hardwick was the man that did the business. So thanks for sticking with us, everyone.